SoftBank and WeWork are in talks that are very advanced, designed to reach a deal as soon as later today or early tomorrow, in which SoftBank will take control of the company, of the space sharing company. WeWork, of course, the embattled co-working company that they've already invested some $10.5 billion at SoftBank through their Vision Fund. It would be new funding. Earlier, I described it as equity. There is a debt component here that would also have the effect of accelerating warrants that SoftBank received, the Vision Fund received as well, from its last round of funding. Remember, the one that valued the company as high as $47 billion, though they did not invest that large an amount at that point. But as we've said, they've invested in various ways along the valuation scale, as much as $10.5 billion. This will be an additional $4 to $5 billion. Here's what we also can tell you at this point. Sources close to the talks tell me that SoftBank would then have control of WeWork, perhaps as much as 70 to 80% control. Earlier, I'd said 60 to 70%. More reporting, as high perhaps as 70 to above, perhaps as close as 80%. Adam Neumann, of course, the company's founder, longtime CEO, who stepped down from that role a few weeks ago, would maintain or have a small double-digit stake in the company. But perhaps importantly for him, he would live to see another day. And perhaps hope, of course, that his equity is going to be worth more. Marcelo Claure, somebody I know fairly well, of course, man who ran Sprint, very senior official at SoftBank, would take control of the management of the company. Unclear if that would be a long period of time, but in the near term, at least, he would take control of WeWork. He, of course, is a guy who can work his way out of tough situations, Sprint being certainly one example of that. And all of this being done, of course, by SoftBank to give the company new money and to give it the time that it feels it needs to, well, essentially put it on the right track and get it back to growth and potentially that place that had been, well, not something they've been able to get to, namely profitability. And so that is the plan as it currently stands. Of course, there had been some talks that WeWork was having with its longtime financial supporter as well, at JP Morgan, but they have gone, I'm told, the SoftBank route at this point. This seems to be a very highly likely outcome. Would value WeWork at about $7.5 to $8 billion. Again, to put that in perspective, as we said, SoftBank itself has already invested $10.5 billion. The new funding will bring that up to perhaps as much as $14 to $15 billion at this point. So that's what we can tell you. We know. We'll wait, of course, to see if and when they get to an announcement how they describe the new funding exactly, but did want to get back and sort of clarify a few things there and share what we know. Back to you.
I mean, David, fascinating that as you said it there at the end, SoftBank themselves having injected a total of 14 to 15 billion to this company that's now valued at half of that level. It just shows the fall from grace and how many people, despite this saving package, which, as you said, gives the company and those involved another day, another year perhaps of breathing space, just shows the extraordinary fall from grace that we've seen.
Without a doubt. Listen, it wasn't that long ago, Wilf, as you well know, the market was expecting an IPO that could come at, well, at one point we thought $25, $30 billion, perhaps even above that. Few expected it would come at a level at which SoftBank invested earlier this year, that $47 billion number that gets bandied about. Now, remember, there were a lot of things that came along with that deal. It wasn't that large a slug of money. And one of the things that did come along at that time, at that incredibly high value, was these warrants, which are going to be repriced down, which are going to give SoftBank that additional ability to own even more shares, along with, of course, the new funding that they're putting in as well. But yeah, it has been a tough road to say the least. It has not reflected well at this point, certainly on SoftBank. Masa, of course, who runs the company, is somebody who loves founders. He loves their energy and their vision, and you can certainly say that there was no lack of that from Mr. Neumann through these years, as he did successfully build this company, even though, of course, there were many questions as to whether it would ever be built into a profitable enterprise. Their contention at SoftBank is, and Masa's, of course, is, I remember when he explained it to me during an interview we did last March, is that it can be, and perhaps will be, and now it will be up to them to bring it to that level that they believe it can actually get to in terms of both profitability and growth.